Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Purview image demonstration hosted by me, Kai Rivera, product specialist here at Purview, and Horos Evangelist. For those of you who are attending, you might be familiar with the Horos project, but did you know there have been over 1 million downloads in over 186 countries? Horos has been used across many industries, from medical to research, pharmaceutical, veterinarian, IT, education, and more. Horos is coming up on 9 years old, I believe February 14th, Valentine's Day here. It'll be 9 years old. Very cool. Purview is the chief sponsor of the Horos project. So if you are using Horos, you might have heard of Purview. Today we're going to be talking about our image solution, which essentially has been a culmination of the changes and development provided by the Horos community. You know, how can we get access to images all across different workstations? How can I do reporting and get those to other places? How can I, have a cloud solution to work with Horos? So many users of Horos interact with the program Horos for a couple months, perhaps during their studies or during their research. But for other practices that might need to, fulfill a need of sharing access and mobility, the Purview image solution has been there to help for many years. So quick comparison between Horos and Purview image. And so you'll see on the left, Horos, of course, follows the DICOM standard. It uses DICOM files that are generated at the machine. And Horos has a lot of powerful tools since it's a locally downloaded program for Apple Mac devices, right? Additionally, there are some other tools that might be helpful for users, such as anonymization. You can change the metadata on the images as needed. That's why it's often used for research and things like that. Local access, right? So since Horos requires you to download the images directly onto your machine, you can only really access those files when they're on your machine, right? It's just like opening up a PDF or opening up a spreadsheet locally. You need to have it on your machine. That's how Horos works. And DICOM sending, which is essentially communicating the files from one source to another, it requires the files to be physically on the machine that you're trying to send from. Going over to the other side on Purview image, Purview follows the DICOM standard, but we also can work with things like JPEG, PDF, documents, and things like that on the web-based solution. Since it's web-based, it works on both Windows and Mac on any web browser. This also means it works on mobile devices and tablets as well. For some of the features like anonymization, users can edit the DICOM fields right on the browser, right? So this means that since the images are in a central location, the users can access that central database online and edit files that don't necessarily need to be on their local machine. In addition to that, users can gain access to Purview using secure credentials from any device, right? You're not limited to the machine that you're on. So if I'm working down here on this particular workstation, if I need to go to a different location, I can also log into the website and access my portal securely. Additionally, for DICOM sending and for referrals and things like that, since the images are stored, the images, reports, and other things are stored in a central cloud database, you can perform these actions from any device. Very, very cool. So with that, I'm going to attempt to share my screen and we'll get into the demonstration. All right, so let's make sure I share the correct desktop. All right, so you should be able to see the Purview image study browser on my screen here. So let's take a look at what we're actually looking at here. So in the Purview image study browser, you'll log into a website with username and password credentials, and you'll be able to visibly see the studies that are made accessible to you. As you might know, Purview allows unlimited users, which means that whether you're a small practice or a large facility, you can add as many users as you'd like through the user management tool. Once the user gets registered, verifies their email, and logs in, they'll be able to see the study browser with the different scans that they have access to. Taking a look at how the Purview image platform is sorted, you might notice that it's actually sorted by the study date in reverse chronological order, which means that the most recent scans are going to be at the top. I'm looking at it from an administrator point of view, which means I have full system access. I have all the different bells and whistles and tools on here. So if your view looks different, it might be because of some of the permissions that I have on here. In any case, once you get access to Purview, you'll be able to see the patient information, right? So you see the patient name, ID or medical record number, date of birth. You'll also notice that you can see in the study column the type of imaging modality that came from and the study description, along with a count of the images. You'll see the study date, and of course, everything is sorted by this column. And you'll see other DICOM fields such as referring physician or institution. So depending on where it comes from, there'll be a different physician's name here. And depending on where the imaging took place, you'll see a different institution name here. For these particular studies, you'll see there's an assignment column. So for many of our customers, they actually use it to report, right? So if you are viewing these radiology images and you need to create a report, you can use the Purview platform to do that. And there's a handy dandy little assignment tool for when you have multiple radiologists in the system. You can simply click assignment and you can change who this particular scan would be assigned to. So this helps you keep track of who's actually working on it. So in this scenario, Bill, his CT scan is assigned to assignment test with the status of normal. If you notice that many of these cases have the normal status, if I take this status for Sally Green and I change it to stat, should change it to red, and then if I refresh my page, it'll show up at the top. So that's one of the ways that scans can be reorganized on the list based off of the time sensitivity. But just to reiterate, all the scans are shown from most recent at the top to the older scans at the bottom. You'll notice on the right side of the screen, there's a couple of buckets here, right? So there are open cases, which means that depending on the reported status in Purview, which can be seen by these little indicators here, it'll have a different status, in terms of reporting. So if I go to open cases, many of these studies might actually just disappear, right? Except for some of them, which might have a report in progress or a report in progress, right? If I go to reported cases, I'll be able to see all the cases that have been completed. So you'll see the green button indicates that something has been done. So when I go to all cases, I'll be able to see everything. So just to kind of reiterate here, once you get access to the Purview system, you'll have a clean look of all the images that have been uploaded to the cloud. You'll be able to locate them by using the different search tools, whether it's date of birth, study date, upload date, things like that. In addition to that, you can add tags to the study itself in order to reference it later. So whether it's CT teeth, or perhaps you're trying to add a specific condition to it, or perhaps you're using it for education, you might list a course number or something like this. And then you can search for these studies based off of that particular tag. So if you are a radiologist that is using multiple tools, let's say to get your reports done, right? You might be viewing them on something like Horos or Radiant or some other DICOM viewer, and you might open up software like Apple Pages or some other document word processing software, and perhaps you're dictating into the report. If you're using disparate, disconnected systems, something like Purview Image might be helpful to you, as what we found is that being able to access the images in a central database, to be able to view online and be able to report online and be able to share the completed report and images is very helpful. So in this view, I can see the scans that are open, let's say. and they have different time sensitivity, and I want to get these completed, right? So I'm going to hop over to a little report test here. So when I open up Purview image, I'll of course see scans that have already been uploaded to the cloud. Now, depending on who you are and how you get images, there might be multiple ways to actually upload scans to the cloud. One of the nice features that we have is the Add Studies button right here at the top. So whether you have the files on your computer or on a thumb drive or DVD, you can actually just select the files from the file browser, or perhaps you just drag the studies right onto the page to upload them. Once the upload is complete, then they'll populate the study browser here. Another cool thing is that if you are collaborating with somebody who has access to the images, but they don't have a Purview account, you can actually create a link to upload to your account by clicking this link, and you'll be able to generate an upload link. If I copy that and I open it up, it should take me to an upload only page where I will be able to upload folders, upload the DICOM from folders on my computer, or perhaps CDs, or even just, once again, drag and drop them right onto this page. What we found is that being able to share upload access to the cloud is helpful because it allows for collaboration, and it doesn't require CDs or DVDs to be mailed or couriered over to you, right? You can just send somebody a link, they can upload the scans from their machine up to the cloud, and then when you log in, you'll be able to just find it. So in this scenario, let's say we have a scan here in the cloud. Let me actually just look here for one of our friends, Brebix. There we go. So let's say Brebix has been uploaded to the cloud. I'm going to take a look at it. It's a CT scan with 548 images. When I click the View on Web Viewer button here, it should launch our FDA approved for primary diagnosis viewer. And it should do it. Here we go. Yep. So depending on the amount of images and the amount of series, it might populate the viewer differently. Now, note, I am not a doctor. So please just bear with me on this. As we go through the viewer here, you'll be able to see that there are different tools, of course, to manipulate the images, to navigate through, control the window levels and things like that. What we found is that even for users that start with Horos, this particular viewer essentially has all the tools that they might need, whether it's to adjust the window levels for a particular scan, or perhaps sharpen the images, being able to add markups, right, or annotations. In addition to that, there's even support for cine viewing. So if I have a image with multiple slices, I can manipulate the cine and play it like a video. In addition to that, depending on how many slices, our viewer should be able to render the images in 3D in moments. Right. So here I'm just I'm on a regular Mac computer, regular home internet, and I'm able to render these images in 3D in addition to seeing other views on the side. Right. So it's very very cool to see. Right. If there are any questions or issues with the actual viewer themselves, there's actually a little built-in help button at the top right that users can access to find out about different features, like does this viewer support Cobb angle measuring or spine labeling, or can you do NPR, things like that. You can't, right? So whether you're looking at it on a 2D view, or perhaps you want to reconstruct the images, you can do it online very quickly. And this, of course, would work on other devices as well. So at this point, let's say I reviewed the images and I'm now ready to report my findings. I'll go over to the Purview Image Study Browser, and there are various tools here that are available, but the main ones that I'll be talking about would be viewing, study notes, sharing. And the purpose of that is to demonstrate how Purview allows you to view images online, collaborate with others in order to create a radiology report, and then share it to a recipient securely so that they can have access to the completed radiology report alongside the DICOM compliant images on their machine, right? So the whole idea is, how can we allow users, doctors, experts to have the ability to share images, be mobile in today's fast-moving environment, and then have access to scans depending on where they are, right? Regardless of where they are, any device, anywhere, at any time. So if I'm going to be taking or creating a report, one of the handy dandy tools here that we have, something like study notes, right? Where I'm able to import information from the file and then create essentially notes for the radiologist to review, or any perhaps ask any questions. Right, and all of these notes can be templated, so whether I want to reorder them or move them up or down, I can do that as well. Once I finish the notes, then when I go back to the studies, I should be able to transition over to the radiologist point of view. And let's say I want to open up a report. Click the report button, and you'll see that there's a templated report available for you to start. What you'll notice here is that you see the patient name. You'll be able to select from a variety of different templates that you set up, whether it's based off of a procedure or anything else. You'll notice that there's a letterhead that's customized with your facility's logo and information, in addition to title, DICOM information, and even the body of the report can be pre-filled according to what the procedure is. So if you select a template for, multi-parametric prostate exam, some of the fields can be filled out with, different templates, whereas some other programs might require you to, use macros or something like that. You can program these templates into the screen. For this is simply just a text box in a browser. So whether you're dictating, as long as it can go into a text box on the web, you can speak right into Purview and have the essentially speech to text go right into these boxes. Additionally, you'll notice that the questions or the study notes that I created a little bit earlier appear on the right side. So here you can see my note. Here's a history of the patient. Please answer this question. As a reporter, I can simply click import as a field, and then it'll import that particular field into the report. So I can import the history as well and have it show up. Once it's here, of course, I can drag and reorder them to however I'd like. And of course, remove any as needed. Here at the bottom, you'll see that you can digitally sign the report. So whether I'd like to add or remove a doctor, I can simply do that by clicking, and I can also select from a list. And let's say there was a notable image that I want to add into this report as a key image. I can simply go to my file explorer, drag and drop an image into the key image. I can edit the description to say, and save and close, and then it'll show up here. If I want to preview the report, I can click that button and see that I am previewing the report. It's not finished quite yet, but it's looking pretty good. I got all the information here that I imported and some of the findings, in addition to the digital signatures. And if I scroll down, I should be able to see that key image with the description. All right, so at this point, we've been able to potentially have a scan uploaded to our cloud account, search for them in the study browser, view them online, render them in 3D or NPR as needed, create some study notes, and then open up a report with templated information that includes the title, the address, all the different fields of the body, or the different body content fields in the report, digitally sign it, and then even add a screenshot for somebody to take a look at. Let's say I want to finish this report, and now it'll have the time that the report was done. If I complete the report and I say, oh no, I gotta make a change, if I click edit report, the system will ask me, hey, you sure you want to edit report? By editing it, it's going to update the date and time according to your changes. It might be worth adding an addendum instead. So I'll simply click add an addendum, and now the system will show that I'm adding an addendum to the report. All right, and then I can add a signature. All right, and I'll submit that addendum. So now you can see at the top, it's got the original date and time, along with the key images and signature. And then at the bottom, it'll have the addendum with the updated date and time for that particular addendum. So at this point, the images have been viewed, they've been reported. Now let's say I want to get it over to perhaps the referring clinician, or perhaps even the patient. What I can do is navigate to the reported cases and locate the various scans that have been made for that particular patient. So I'm searching on KRIV, and so you'll be able to see a couple of fields that pop up. Well, let's say I'm looking for the one from today, right? So I'll locate that particular scan, and I can click on view report if needed. But at this point, let's say I'm going to share it. Click the share button, and it'll bring up the share medical record field. It'll say, here's the particular patient name, here's the study that you're sharing, here's the referring physician. There's a little button here for reported cases that says include the study report. So I can check that or uncheck that if I want to add the report as a PDF onto it. There's a cool feature now that has add other studies from this particular patient. So as other studies from that particular patient have been added to the system, Purview will automatically group them based off of a matching name, ID, patient date of birth, and gender. And so when I click add studies, it'll automatically show other studies found for this particular patient. So I can add them to this list. And now I'm sharing the initial scan, the report, and 2 other studies from that particular patient, just to give the person I'm sending it to, some other information that might be valuable to them. At the bottom here, you will see security options that allow you to configure how the recipient would be able to interact with the access link. So in order to maintain patient privacy and security, we have it defaulted to send securely, which means that the recipient, once they get the email for this, it'll require them to enter in the patient's date of birth and last name in order to access the studies. If you want the recipient to be able to download the images, right, in DICOM format, you can check or uncheck this button. And for expiration time, you can set the access link to never expire, expire after 48 hours, or 1 week. So let me do 1 week, and I'll send it over to an email address. And the great thing is that you can send multiple studies over multiple periods of time over to multiple email addresses, right? And if I send the email, it'll give me a little window to ask me to confirm the records I'm sharing. Okay, I'm going to send this patient, this exam, and these additional studies to this email address, right? Make sure that you are entering the right information, because this email might contain confidential and protected healthcare information, right? Additionally, there is now a custom message that you can put to help the recipient know what you're sending to them. And since they're going to be accessing a particular case, it might be helpful to give them a little bit of context, right? Yep. So I can say, hello, please take a look at the case 1234. View the invoice or another system to locate the patient last name and date of birth. Here's the support number, confirm send. Once you send the images and the reports and in the additional study, there's going to be a little button that says record shared successfully. So I'm going to go into my email real quickly on another screen and look for that record. Alrighty. So now that we're in the email, oops, it'll say something like a medical record has been shared with you by, whatever the client name is, or perhaps the Purview client. It could be your name here, right? It'll be shared with you. Please take a look at the record below. Since it was shared securely, the patient name is going to be blocked out, right? That's why it helps to use the custom message to give just a little bit of context. Hey, take a look at case 1234. Look at the other system to find the actual last name, date of birth. So we private label the Purview platform so that when you send this email, it can have your signature here that says, best regards, Dr. Jane Doe. Here's the address, here's the email, here's phone number, and hours of operation, things like that. And here's our little logo, right? So as a recipient, once I get this email, I say, oh, okay, medical records have been shared with me. Here's the name, here's the case. Okay, great. I'm going to click access records. And now I'm presented with the screen to confirm the patient data, right? So in this scenario, just to make my life a little easier, I'm going to split the screen here and locate the last name, which in this scenario is that, and the date of birth should be right here, 12/01. All right, and so if I enter it correctly, when I click access shared records, it should populate to show the shared records. I'll see the patient's name, patient's date of birth. And from here, as a recipient, I can now click on the report to see what's been done. I can also view the images or download any of them onto my local computer. So at this point, the images and the report and everything is now available to me to stream online or download onto my local machine. It didn't require any faxing. It didn't require any CDs to be mailed. And this all happened within a span of a couple of minutes, right? If I want to view all the images online, I can simply click the button and the Purview web-based viewer should launch. Since these are test images, they will likely have different information here. But imagine, if I was uploading or viewing that CT scan again, I can still compare the other images side by side. Let's say I want to take a look at the report, right? I just simply click report, and then I'll be able to see the expert radiology opinion that was rendered for this case at this time. So here's the history of the patient, here are the clinical questions, here's the technique, all of these things. In addition to who signed it, if I keep scrolling, I should be able to see the key images. Oh, wow, very interesting. And if there's an addendum, I'll be able to see it there. Great. At this point, if I need to, I can save it to a PDF or I can print it from my machine. Very, very easy to handle these records. So at this point, whether you're a radiologist or you are perhaps just handling medical images, you now have a place in Purview to upload your scans using web-based uploading, uploading from your computer or dragging and dropping. You can also share a link to someone else so that they can upload from wherever they happen to be. But also, as you might know, in DICOM, there's a destination, right? So usually an IP address, application entity title, AE title, and a port number, right? So with a combination of those things, you can have your imaging modalities, whether it's CT, X-ray, nuclear medicine, all those things. You can have them send directly to the cloud server so that when somebody logs in, they'll be able to see the scans here. So whether you are producing the images and acquiring them, or you are asking somebody to upload their images that they have acquired or that they have access to your machine, or sorry, to your cloud server, you'll be able to do that in multiple different ways. And what we found these days is that dragging and dropping, it's a very easy way, But if you're acquiring images yourself, you can actually just program those machines. We'll work with your vendor to have it connect right to the cloud server, and it'll be made available here on this cloud dashboard. A couple of other things that are cool about Purview that we've worked on over the years is that you can add unlimited users to the cloud. You can track the activity in the cloud to see, okay, what scans have been reported this month? How do I know what to bill, right? Or how do I know that my residents are logging in and looking at the scans, or who has done what action? You can simply load them in the activity logs. In addition to that, there are other useful tools in Purview. So for our Horos audience, you don't have to use the web-based browser here. You can simply click the button that says Launch with Horos or Osirix. If you're on a Mac machine, it'll simply download the files locally onto your computer, and then you can view them in Horos in your favorite viewer. So we want to make sure that whoever's taking the images or needs to access the images can do so on whatever device they're on. And if you want to continue using Horos, of course, you can continue using Horos just by using the button. In addition to all of that, there are other quality of life features that have come from feedback from the community. Things like editing the patient DICOM. So I can click here and edit the patient ID, last name, date of birth, and on the patient level. And then I can go into the study level and add any changes that I want for that. Typically what we find is that if there's a typo or some sort of error that's been made, those can be updated here on the cloud. In addition to that, if you need to send out, like if you're acquiring images and you need to send out, how do you say, images over to another destination, you can click the DICOM route button. You can simply select from a list and say, I want to send these over to a different PACS destination. Select a PACS node, and then you'll see a different drop-down list of all the destinations that you've added. So if I am a veterinarian, I have a lot of CTs or ultrasounds, and I say, hey, I want to get this radiologist across the country or across the world to take a look at these scans. I can send it right over there to their PACS, depending on the connection configuration, all that type of stuff. I just select it, click send, and it'll process and let you know that the routing has been processed successfully or not. In addition to that, things like being able to share multiple studies and add a custom message, right? And being able to drag and drop right on the screen or add non-DICOM attachments to a report. These are all just ways of making sure that medical records and any associated documents and things like that are able to be accessed online at any time on any device by whoever needs to view it. So with that, we can open it up to Q&A if there's any from the audience. Hopefully you got to see a nice little run through of the Purview image solution. While we wait for some of those questions to come in, I'll talk about some of the common questions that I get asked, right? So in terms of uploading, like I mentioned, you can upload right from the machine. You can connect your imaging modalities right to our cloud server, and we'll work with your vendor, modality vendor, technicians or engineers, or somebody from IT to make sure that it's connected to the cloud securely and that you can view them online. In addition to the web-based uploader, this has been one of our very, very common methods of uploading over the past few years. Just drag and drop, drag and drop. You give somebody upload access to your cloud, and they're able to simply get the images to your cloud. Let's see here. Here's a question. Is it possible to tag? Okay. Is it possible to tag a patient's set of scans to indicate that there are other scans from that patient within Purview? Sure. Yeah, so that's a good question. So if I look at this patient scan, right, so this is Kay Rivera, I can see that they at least have the same ID or date of birth. If it happens so that they have images from another facility, for example, right? So if I'm filtering based off of a medical record number of 1, 2, 3, 4, I might only see that patient scans that have that medical record number. So there are a couple of ways that you can handle this. If you are perhaps a consultant and you're looking at scans that are generated from multiple places, you have a couple of options. If you're not responsible for maintaining the actual medical record, it might be easier to simply associate the patient that you have to an existing one in your system. So if there's K Rivera with patient ID of KR1234, I might look for another patient to change it to, right? So I'll change it over to Sally Green, let's say. And you can notice at the top, I can actually simply adjust the patient information to be congruent with another patient that's already in the system. It might actually be that same patient in certain cases. So this patient is actually not K Rivera. It's actually Sally Green, but it had a different ID for whatever reason. So I'm just going to click the change associated patient to make sure that they line up. That would be changing the actual metadata and the DICOM tags in the file. But if you are responsible for the images and you don't want to change it, you can also use something like the tag feature that we have here. So you can say, you can also add anything that you want, right? Whether it's a MRN1234, right? Or if you want to say, this is for trial ABC, or you might even just type in, somebody's name, right? You can do that, add it to the tag so that it'd be searchable and associated with that particular patient, right? So if I go to KRivera1234, add these tags, then I can go over to something like, let's just say Brebix. Let's go over to our friend Brebix and say, this one is actually also MRN1234, right? If I clear the search filter and then I select search for tags MRN1234, then I can see here's K Rivera, here's Brebix. They have been associated through the same tag, and I can see all the different information there. So that's one of the ways that you can tag a set of scans to indicate that there are other ones for that particular patient, even if they have different names or even if they're from different periods of time. As your database fills up, there might be a lot of things to sift through, but I would say that using something like a tag, or perhaps even just changing the patient association, if you're able to, if you're comfortable with changing the DICOM metadata, you're not responsible for maintaining the records, perhaps because you didn't acquire it. You can simply select an existing patient to associate it to. So there's uploading scans to the cloud. There are making associations through tags. Of course, you can, let's see. Here's another question. If you accidentally close the patient file by clicking on mark as read, is there an easy way to reverse this so that the report becomes active again? That's a good question. So right now, that is an active feature request. So just for those who are asking what this means. So in this scenario, in Purview, there is a way to mark studies as read, right? So maybe you have a set of images that you're not actually going to read. So you move it as marked as read so that they're gone out of your open cases. Right now, what happens is that it moves over to all cases and you can't reopen it yet. So there's a feature that's being looked at that will allow an administrator to essentially unmark it as read so that the report would be available for creation, essentially. So it'll revert it back to an open case. That's a good question. That's something that we've gotten some feedback from, and so we're looking into it currently. uploading, viewing, reporting, sharing, archiving, right? We have clients that have tens of thousands of images over the past, decade plus, stored in the Purview cloud, whether we are the custodian of records for them or whether they are using our platform to electronically deliver medical records instead of using physical media such as CDs. Purview handles a lot of images, and so you essentially pay for what you use, and depending on what pricing you're on, depending on how many images you produce, you might be on a different type of plan. You can find that at purview.net and look for pricing. It's just right there on the website. And what we found is that users who have to handle radiology images in some way, right? They can benefit from having a cloud storage like Purview. Now, if you're comfortable with just leaving your scans on Horos or some other viewer, that's fine. But as your storage on your computer starts to fill up, then the performance of the machine goes down. There's also risk of losing those medical records if your computer breaks or if there's a natural disaster. We've had clients that have had, entire basement levels of buildings flood, and that's where, their documents and servers were. But since they had a backup of the images on Purview, that part at least was mitigated, right? So we really try to solve the issue of having a cloud backup, right? Being able to make sure that even if your machine dies or it's running out of support or something, if you lose the images locally, you'll still have a secure place to access them. Additionally, you can create as many users as you'd like, and you can have them filtered so that they only see scans, from a certain facility, right? So if I'm taking the images or if I'm acquiring the images and I want a specialist to take a look at them, I can create as many accounts as I want and say, hey, I'm going to assign or filter your account to only see scans from this facility or only the ones that have your surname in the referring physician. But that way, when they logged in, they see a filtered view of what is in the cloud. So sharing, access, and mobility is what Purview is all about. And if you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to some of our experts. I think at this time we'll close out the demonstration and just talk about what's next. So I'll stop sharing my screen, and if we can, yep. So on the or what's next, right? There are other ways to get involved with the Horos community. You can donate to the project during the season of giving, right? Purview sponsors Horos, which means that we spend the time to do the development, we do the updates, making sure that everything is fine and dandy. Even as Apple updates their processors and things like that, there's a lot of work that gets put into making sure that Horos stays free for you and for the over 1 million people that are using the program. So donate, join the community, and stay tuned for upcoming events. So in the next couple of weeks here in 2024, there's going to be, how do you say, another webinar. What's the difference? What's the difference between Purview Image and Horos? I know Horos. What is Purview? I get emails from Purview, but what does this all mean? So for those who are interested in learning how you can perhaps use both, stay tuned for that webinar. In any case, if you are watching this after the recording has been provided, feel free to reach out to us at experts@purview.net. We'll be able to work with you, set up a meeting, and find out what your needs are, answer any questions you might have. If you're an existing customer that might be viewing this webinar, please feel free to reach out to us with any questions you might have. Contact support@purview.net to get assistance with technical issues, and we'll be happy to help. With that, we'll conclude today's webinar session. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. My name is Kai. Happy to help. Have a good one.